The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to those expressing them and do not necessarily reflect the OSIP Foundation Incorporated or any other group or individual. This podcast may contain dialogue or subject material that could be considered for mature audiences only. All aspects of How You Play the Game and the OSIP Foundation Incorporated are protected by copyright and other state and federal intellectual property laws. Unauthorized use without the express written consent of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated is strictly prohibited. If you're interested in sponsoring How You Play the Game, please email us at podcast@osipfoundation.org. Your sponsorship may be tax deductible. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of How You Play the Game, the official podcast of the OSIP Foundation Incorporated. Yours truly, Jack Furlong, with you as we talk to you about what's going on as far as the world of sportsmanship is concerned. This is the second episode of the month of March. The year is 2024. As always, check us out at osipfoundation.org. You can contact the show using the email address podcast@osipfoundation.org, on Facebook at facebook.com/osipfoundation. X, formerly Twitter and Instagram, are at OSIP Foundation, hashtag How You Play the Game. As always, since this is now the new thing that we're doing, the second episode of the month will be me flying solo, and then our producer engineer Sean Ryan will join us for the one to top off the next month. So we're going to make this one quick and to the point, and have a little fun here as we talk to you about some stuff that's coming across my desk. Today we're going to talk about basketball and some of the things that I've seen with regard to sportsmanship in basketball. There has been kind of an epidemic of complaining about things in basketball. And granted, you know, we could kind of slice the bologna as thin as we want, talking about the complaints of various things in various sports and whatnot. So this is nothing new. You know, basketball is a sport where the fouls that can be called can be certainly in the eye of the beholder, being the various referees, and that can lead to disagreements, you know, very similar to the strike zone in baseball. You know, it's so you take a lot of that into consideration as you look at this kind of stuff, and rightfully so. That being said, I have noticed a large increase in the number of articles about NBA players who are complaining about calls made by the refs, and there seems to be this flippant attitude towards, I don't care if I get fined, I got to say this, and it's really setting a pretty bad example, and really kind of irking me. Certainly, I mean, I'm not that big of an NBA fan from the start, but this kind of thing certainly turns me off into even wanting to consider to watch NBA games. You know, it's pretty sad, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, because what's happening is as more and more of these complaints are being lodged, you know, through the media, you know, whether it be the coaches or the players or whatever, and the media picking up on it. I mean, you pull up ESPN and you're like, geez, another story about someone complaining about, you know, the refs and whatnot. Like this, it's old hat, guys. I hate to say it. Move on. It's going to be what it's going to be, and you kind of have to deal with it. But what then makes it even worse is you can go through some of the other things in basketball at different levels and see some stuff that's worse. You know, you start to wonder, does the behavior at the professional level trickle down to these lower levels that cause these issues? For example, in the title game in women's basketball between South Carolina and LSU, this was the SEC title game, there were 6 people ejected. Okay? There was a fight, and as a result of it, a bunch of players were ejected during this fight. In fact, the brother of one of the players actually came from the stands, hopped over the scorer's table, and got involved with the fight. I mean, that's how bad it is, guys. Come on. One of the players, Camila Cardoso, at least did apologize via X, but it's a little too, it's too little too late to a degree. You're going to let a fight like this get, mar a title, a college title game, championship game here. This is pretty sad. And the article kind of goes on to say that's not who we are. No one wants to be a part of it. We don't want this to happen. But these girls were, it was just inexcusable that these college girls allowed this to happen at this level. And at this point, it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. It doesn't matter where we point the fingers. It just needs to stop. It's absolutely terrible that we, allow this to go on. And good on the refs for realizing that, in a game like this, which is a title game, a championship game, you've got to toss some kids. That's great. That's really, really good. So a lot of people, a lot of the people said the right thing about this, where they said, I hope, this is the last of it, and so on and so forth. And fine. Okay. But then we go into another story here. This is kind of hitting close to home here in New Jersey. At the high school level, there was a game in the boys basketball tournament here in New Jersey between the game was Camden and Manasquan, and if you Google it, you'll see it everywhere. What apparently happened was a last second putback shot that would have given Manasquan the win to advance over Camden. Was counted at first by a referee, and then the refs huddled and waved it off. That led to a massive uproar, including a lawsuit where the Manasquan School District sued the NJSIAA and demanded that they overturn the call. Well, obviously that didn't happen because Camden then went on to win the whole thing. And what's really messed up about this is that, okay, it's a bad call. It happens. But they had to get the state involved? Okay, the state appellate division ruled that it would not overturn this, this call, not force them to overturn it. And they literally said here, this is coming from the appellate division, quote, Judges should generally refrain from interfering with the internal matters of sports associations. They added that courts generally do not sit as referees of football any more than they sit as the umpires of baseball or the super scorers for stock car racing. It's, the NJSIA even came out and said, look, it's pretty clear. Once the rule, first of all, there are no protests allowed in the state of New Jersey at the high school level. Okay, so we all accept that going in. There's no use of video replay, so we all accept that going in. And once the officials leave the confines of the playing area, the court, the field, etc., the game is concluded, the score is official, and nothing can be changed. So there's nothing that they could do. The Manasquan School Superintendent Frank Kaysen, basically said that the appeal was the last step in the process. They could have gone to the New Jersey Supreme Court, but they decided not to do that. School District Attorney Michael Gross said, quote, the district and the students in the district are deserved of getting the right outcome to this incident, so we are taking all these necessary steps to try to right the wrong that was done. Lou Capelli Jr., who's representing the Camden School District, said, quote, are we going to go back and look at all 32 minutes of the game and come to the judge and say, Judge, this wasn't a foul. It's ridiculous. This is he painted it as sour grapes and a waste of taxpayer money, etc. So a couple of things here. First of all, you have to understand that there's adversity in sports. Okay, whether we talk about what's going on at the professional level with people complaining about the calls that refs are making, the collegiate level where emotions are high, or the high school level like this. Adversity exists. And when you're dealing with scholastic athletics, okay, where the participants are students, and they are students first, we are using athletics as an extension of the classroom. The athletics, the sport is the catalyst to continue to allow the student to learn. We are using that as the medium. So, adversity is part of this. Adversity, we have to learn to cope with it and deal with it and overcome it, because we're going to face that in the world constantly, not just in sports. It will be there waiting for us. And we need to teach these young people, and continue to teach ourselves as adults, that you kind of have to deal with it. Life's not always fair. And yes, there are times when we need to fight and times when we need to stand up for our beliefs. And believe me, that's all very true. But in sports, this is literally, there's nothing tangible at stake other than bragging rights, other than the ability to raise a trophy. I said this the other day to somebody. I said, I've been umpiring. I'm starting my 17th year umpiring. Not once in 17 years have I walked off of a field after umpiring a game, looked back and said, uh-oh, the world is literally ending. Life goes on, people. So we have to get over it. It's just sad that it's come to this. But there is one small quantum of solace, if you will. The Manasquan boys basketball team that lost the game over that bad call, they went to Camden's state final game, and they were applauding when Camden won. They went to support them. How about that? Now that is true sportsmanship right there. Essentially, unless there's more to this that we are not seeing at the time of recording this podcast, that is the definition of understanding adversity, rising above it, and treating others the way that you would want to be treated. How about that? Good for you, Manasquan. Good for you. I'm sure it probably stung, but there's a lesson learned there that's going to take you much farther than anything else. And we should end this episode by highlighting that. Adversity, when we face it in life, can really hurt. There's no doubt about it. But the flip side to that is that if we can kind of get past that hurt and we can overcome it, something good can come from it. And that's what happened here. Manasquan just showed the world how to be the better person, how to be the bigger man. And I kind of wish that the people involved in that college title game and all those complaining at the NBA level would look to Manasquan here and say, geez, if these kids have the ability to do that, maybe I have the ability to do just a little bit better. That's something special. It really is. Well, that's enough for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Our next episode, Sean should be back, and we should have another fancy good time. As always, check us out at osafoundation.org. You can contact the show with the email address podcast@osafoundation.org. We are on social media at facebook.com/osafoundation, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram are at osafoundation, #HowYouPlayTheGame. Until we speak next time, everybody take care and treat each other with respect. How You Play the Game is a production of the OSIP Foundation, Incorporated. The producer-engineer of this episode is Sean Ryan. Music by Soundspring Studio. The executive producer of How You Play the Game is Jack Furlong. For more information, visit osipfoundation.org.